So we've got these ideas, things that are excludable or not, things that are rival or not. We can combine them to get 4 different types of goods, which work differently with the concept of a market. Right? So let's draw out this table here. We got things that are rivalrous. Yes or no. We got things that are excludable. Yes or no. And then we got 4 boxes to fill in. So let's start with yes and yes, things that are both excludable and rival. This is all the stuff we've been covering up to this point. We call these private goods. For these goods, just a regular competitive market works fine. No problem. That's the exact stuff that we've been talking about. And if we move on to other types, we'll talk about each of these in turn. So what are things that are rivalrous but not excludable? These are called commons. Goods. Things that are excludable but not rival, we could call those artificially scarce. Or club goods. And then finally, things that are neither rivalrous nor excludable, those are called public goods. All right, so let's see what each of these things are, discuss what happens when we have them. Here's half of this. Things are rival and excludable, things we've already done. Most tangible goods are in this category. We call these private goods. Good to go. We've talked about it all those ways. Next, let's talk about things that are excludable but non-rivalrous. So we're down here in this corner, things that are excludable but are not rivalrous. So what does that mean? The fact that it's non-rivalrous means that everybody could enjoy the same unit of whatever the thing is. But the fact that it's excludable means that you can stop them from doing so unless they pay. Right? So I could distribute this PDF to everybody for free, but I have the ability for some reason to charge you before I let you have it. So that'd be an example of a artificially scarce good, also known as a club good. And as I think you'll notice as we go through this, there are a lot more of these than there used to be. Computers are pretty important in doing that. We'll see why that is. So with the rising internet computers, there's a huge increase in the number of artificially scarce goods because just the number of things that computers can basically make non-rivalrous that didn't used to be non-rivalrous. Books used to be non-rivalrous. Now you can let another person have another copy of the book for free, right? So once you've written a news article, or recorded an MP3, or filmed a TV show and digitized it, the cost of letting another person watch it is very close to zero, right? Once you account for like electricity costs and things, bandwidth costs or whatever, which are pretty cheap, pretty much zero. So what do we do with that? However, there are ways of making people pay for this stuff, right? You know that there are many websites which probably have marginal cost of letting you view the website at zero that charge you to view them. So how does that work? Well, there might be some sort of paywall or something like that. I keep using iTunes as an example, but nobody uses iTunes anymore. I should probably stop doing that. Subscription fees are another way. You know, if you want to go read the New York Times or whatever, and they say, oh, you only have 2 free articles this month, they could let you have as many articles as they want, but they have a paywall, which makes them artificially scarce good. Now you can imagine how this might lead to inefficiently low consumption, right? We're going to consume less than would be the efficient quantity. Why might this be? Well, as I mentioned before, where's the efficient quantity going to be? It's going to be wherever marginal benefit equals marginal cost, right? Golden rule, it's always the answer. However, marginal cost is 0, right? So if I charge you $1 to look at this thing, whereas it's going to cost me 0 to make it, then you're not going to consume as much of it as would be efficient. Say, for example, that you have a song, like we're talking about iTunes here, right? So if you want to get a new song, you got to pay $1 for the new song, right? So we're paying on a per song basis. So let's say there's a song that you only value at 50 cents, right? But I'm going to charge you $1. You're not going to buy it, right? Which means that there is a song here that you value at 50 cents. It cost me 0 to let you have it, and yet we're not making that trade. This trade would improve efficiency. It would make the world better off by 50 cents, and yet I'm not going to let you have it. And so that is efficiency reducing. There is a trade here that would make things better off, that would improve total surplus, but we are not going to let it happen. That is the definition of deadweight loss. So people are only going to listen to stuff or buy stuff that they value at more than the price. But if it's artificially scarce, and the price is above, then the price should be 0 for efficiency. I should keep consuming until the last song I listen to, I value is 0. But I'm not going to do that because it costs me money. So what's going on here? How does this? So if we put this in a market, it could work, right? We all know that these markets exist, right, for stuff that's artificially scarce. If you've ever paid for pay-per-view or to access a stream or whatever, then they clearly exist in a market. These are goods for which a market will work, but it will be inefficient, right? That's the whole idea of market failure. We're going to consume less of this stuff than would be efficient to do so. Now, there is a partial fix for this, right, in the case of artificially scarce goods, and it's one that we're all very familiar with because it works really well, and so it's been implemented in a lot of cases, and that is the club system. So, I mentioned these are called club goods. They're artificially scarce because they're not really scarce, but we can charge you to make them scarce, right? They're also club goods because they are most efficiently provided, not completely efficiently, but close, in a club system. We have to have these kinds of paywalls. There has to be some way of paying the producer, or else they're not going to bother making the thing in the first place, right? So yeah, it's inefficient to charge you $1 to listen to the song that a copy is free for, but if there's no way to pay them, then they're not going to spend all the money on the studio or whatever to record the song. So you have to have some sort of paywall. There has to be some way of paying the producer to incentivize them to pay the fixed cost of production. Otherwise, they're not going to do it. So if the price is actually 0, the things are unprofitable to make. The market falls apart, which is not good, but there are lots of nice things that you want to exist in this realm. The music industry certainly went through a big old slump for a long time because it could not figure this out. It couldn't figure out how to get people to pay for music after it became clear that music was artificially scarce and it was just super easy to pirate it. So subscription fees, also known as the club system, are one way of compromising on this. So the examples that I've given of payment so far, like iTunes, you pay on a per unit basis. Every time you want a new song, you pay another thing. Every time you want to watch another stream or pay-per-view or whatever, you got to pay another ticket fee, right? If you want to watch the new movie on Disney Plus, you got to pay $15. That's all really inefficient, right? However, the subscription fee unit is sort of a compromise. So in this system, club system, you charge a subscription to get access to a big library of content, and then every individual piece of content in that is free to use, right? We're all very familiar with this. When I first made these slides, this was a relatively rare thing that you didn't see that much, and I was sort of searching really hard for good examples of it, but now they're everywhere, right? Netflix, Spotify, so on, right? So you pay one price for Netflix, and you can see everything on Netflix. You pay one price for Spotify, you can see everything on Spotify. Go away. So you're in the club, and you can consume everything you want for free. What does this mean? This means that once you are in the club, the price to you of each unit is 0, which is, of course, the efficient price. So by having this club system, we can both fund the fixed cost of production, right? Because there is a way of paying the producers to incentivize them to make the stuff in the first place. But also, each individual unit costs nothing to you once you're in the club. And so as long as you're in the club, you are going to consume the efficient amount of stuff. If there's a movie that you value watching at 1 penny, then it's free to watch. Penny is more than nothing, so you'll watch it, right? Which is the efficient thing, right? We want you to continue watching until the marginal benefit of your consumption equals the marginal cost. Now, this is not perfectly efficient. It is a compromise, right? Now, why? Any guesses as to why this is not? I guess there's no guesses right on the slide. But the reason why this is not perfectly efficient is that not everybody has a subscription, right? So if I value Spotify enough to get a Spotify subscription, right, then for me, my consumption is as efficient as it possibly can. Right? I'm consuming until my marginal benefit is 0. However, if somebody else only doesn't value a Spotify subscription enough to get one, then their consumption is inefficient, right? They're not consuming as much as would be efficient. They also, for efficiency, should be allowed to listen to music until their marginal benefit is 0. And yet, they're not, or at least we make them listen to ads, which is a whole other thing. But Netflix is a better example because you can't just watch Netflix, right? There's somebody who would value watching something on Netflix, but not enough to actually pay for the subscription. That is inefficient. It costs Netflix nothing to let them watch, and yet they're not allowed to, which reduces efficiency.